Yeah, thank you so much, firstly, for your time today. We've been really refining the service, and now I feel like our value propositions where we wanted it to be. The service is really good. So now what we're wanting to do is go, how do we make this better? Like, we've got the foundations now to be able to ask the questions about how do we make this better for our clients? What else do they need? What else can we provide, if anything? And
Yeah.
at the same time, also share some of these case studies that we're going to combine at the same time on our various different platforms. So the first thing is our chat's going to go kind of as it usually does. Probably we should try and stay a bit more on topic, because I know me and you go off in many different
I know.
directions. But firstly, are you happy for me to record this and then share it across our socials and on our website?
Of course, yeah.
Perfect. Just on the actual service, Resource Worldwide as a service itself, in the actual process of it, without going into too much details of the process, what would you say has worked really well for you to date?
Gosh, that's a big question to ask, because it
Straight in.
covers a lot of things, doesn't it? Well, I mean, what it did was you've been able to find, I think, highly capable people who are willing to work with me and learn as well, very quickly, and that's been great.
Okay. Is there anything from our side, if you think about, I know it's some time ago, obviously, that we placed Agnes with you, but more on the more recent ones as well, you've been back through that process with us however many times. So is there anything that you could see that we could improve? And again, honestly, the more honest you are, I'm not going to kind of be like, oh, it's going to help us a lot on this product development side, because we do want to make sure our product's the best on the market.
Yeah, I think speed of delivery sometimes I need somebody urgently, and I need them on board, and I don't always want to, I know it's probably not a good approach to take sometimes, but sometimes I just don't have the time to interview people, and I'd rather that almost you did that as an HR, outsourced HR, and you said, look, this is the candidate you need. You know what I'm after, and we built a relationship where you know what I'm looking for.
Mm.
And sometimes I just don't want to have to really go into it too much. Obviously, if it's a longer term appointment or somebody more important, that's okay, but not always. I think what was the other thing I was going to think of then? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Can't remember what I was going to say then. But anyway, go on.
No,
It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me.
that's super interesting. Often I've wondered if these meet and greets are overkill, because the candidates that get selected are almost always the candidates that we think would have got selected anyway.
Well,
So
they prepare in the same way, and so they don't loosen up. I tried to loosen up with Mary and with I can't remember the other guy's name now, and they're very used to presenting in a certain way, and it's almost they've been trained to do it in that way. So you never get honesty, I don't think, with it. And really, what I want to do is cut down to the quick. I mean, I'll take you back. I remember when I was heading up project management in across the north with a niche project management outfit. And we were recruiting a new project manager, and we had various people come in, and this young lad in his 30s, I think it was, no, it might be younger than that, but anyway, late 20s, early 30s, I guess, came in. And I just found it like wading through treacle with him. And in the end, I said, well, look, what excites you about construction? You know, why did you come into this? And he didn't have an answer for me, and I was just stunned, because I get so excited about what I do, not only in the design work I've done, in the buildings we've built, but also now in what we're doing in bidding, in sales, and in business. Everything just excites me and interests me. And I'm looking for people on the same level as that, the same, not necessarily that they do it the same, but that they have that passion.
yeah.
And that I guess is what I struggle with sometimes with the interviews. I want them to be more them, not corporate. I want to find out who they are, because then I'm going to know if I can work with them or not.
Yeah, okay. I love that. Do you think that we could help prepare you for that with questions? Or do you think it's more that we can obviously help with that, because we can say to the candidates, this is something that our clients want to see is you. So don't worry, like throw the rule book of interviewing to the side.
Yeah.
And would it be helpful if we said, suggested questions or whatever it might be,
Yeah,
or
I'm happy to do with that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Just in the way I'm thinking of how we can improve that part of the product.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Oh, so the other thing that I was going to say is you know the nature of my business. So sometimes we have highs and lows. And I think at the moment where we are, it's probably more like that. I'm trying to work it, as you know, into a situation where we've got more of a steady flow of work and hopefully an upward flow of work rather than declining. But that's not the case. So at the moment, we've got well, we just one of the bids that we were going to, I don't know if I told you this, but that confidential project, Project X, the client decided that the contract was too onerous for them, so they
mm,
pulled out. They're not doing it. So the job that I was going to have Mary do, which was going to be really involved and last till the end of March, has now gone. And so I've got her working on another job, which is going to be done for the 18th. I've got Nat working on a new project which is going to be finished on the 17th. And after that, I don't have anything for those two to do. So ideally, I would drop them at that point and pick them up again later. And that would help me if I could have people where they would work with us on that basis, as an associate would work with us in the UK.
yeah, more on that freelance
Yeah.
model.
Now, ideally, we'd be increasing the amount of work we're winning and therefore wouldn't need to do that. But at the moment I do. And it might be, we get a bigger job in. I just say, oh, cracky, I need another two writers, but I only need them for this job. And I want to go back to the status quo then afterwards.
Yeah.
So that would help.
Yeah, I mean that's challenging because obviously that's then moving into a freelancer model and there's lots of issues with that, which is one of the reasons
I
that we
know.
ended up looking at
And
in the
it's not your
first
model.
place.
And I get that. I get that.
And we've deliberately moved away from the freelancer model because we just had constant issues with the quality of candidates that came
Yeah.
in.
And I can say that, the good thing about your model is the fact it's using overseas people at a lower cost than I would pay in the UK for people here, but technically the same, or better than I can source here, more readily available because they definitely block out time for me in the time that I've agreed with them, and therefore I can carry that resource for a bit longer when we don't have work.
Yeah.
So I've got some ideas about where I can position Mary and Nat after this to help do some stuff for Vision, which I'm willing
Okay.
to pay for, and that's okay.
Okay. Amazing. I mean, kind of carrying on that, is there anything else that you would like to see us offer? Like for you, what would the perfect version of our service be?
In what way? What are you thinking on that?
So extra sort of support in the HR side, on the performance management side, or maybe not. Maybe we're exactly what you need.
Well, yeah, probably I don't need too much on that. I guess what would be when I get the feedback, can't remember how often you do it now, but I get like a feedback video or something like that from
Yeah.
people. Again, it's not even worth watching, to tell you the truth, because it's the same every time. I love working with Neil and he's very I don't want to know that. I don't need my ego.
That 2 week video is too templated.
Yeah, tell me really what's your challenges? Where is it not working for you? Where is a problem? So for Mary, I'd want her to be really because I like honesty. I want people to tell me to my face if there's a problem, just tell me. And then if I can fix it, I will. And if I can't, well, we'll have to see where we go from there. So Mary really should be able to come to you and that really, I guess, and say, look, I'm enjoying the work I'm doing, but I'm getting a lot of stuff back from Neil correcting what I'm doing. So I need a bit of training. I need some training in a use of AI. I need some sales training, or I need this, and to ask me specifically for the training that they want. At the moment, I'm having to guess what that is.
Okay, that's really good feedback. That is something we can implement straight away.
Yeah. So I mean, I write a lot about this, when we're doing the bids and things, in terms of training internal teams, who are employed, in that they would all have a training program and that they would have annual reviews and things like that. So maybe that's something you could set up is like a training program for these people. Where are this? What's the skill level? What do they need to do? How can they improve on that? And how can I, as an employer, actually work with them to do that?
Yeah, love that. Okay, cool. So anything else on the actual product and the areas you can see that it would need to be improved? I mean, you've just given me absolutely loads.
Not off the top of my head, no. I think
Okay.
that those are the key things for me.
All right, amazing. So, if we can go back then and speak specifically about your experience of working with us. So, when you first started with us, I feel it was like approaching a year. I know you were painting something, your door. I
Oh
remember,
yeah,
so
it
it
was the
must have
front
been like
door. Goodness me,
spring.
I forgot about that.
It
Blown.
must have been spring or summer, like
Yeah.
end of spring. So I think we're approaching on a year. So if you could like cast your mind back to that time, and I know a lot's happened since then, what would when we reached out to you, what was it that made you think, yeah, do you know what? I do actually want to have a call with you guys. What was your situation? What was the challenge that you were facing in your business?
The difficulty back then was, and it hasn't got any better. In fact, it's probably got worse. Is availability of resource to do bids. And what I was finding in the UK was, I brought on a number of UK associates and I trialed them on various things. Now, one of them I brought in to write an awards bid for me. In fact, it was just after we went to Morocco last year that we started to have the conversations. So it would have been just about April, I think it was,
Right.
um, and or April, May, and so I brought this person, I can't remember her name now, brought her in to do this awards bid, and it was really rubbish. And so I ended up rewriting it because it had to be this was a guy who was a construction manager going for the Institute of Buildings Construction Manager of the Year award. So he's up against the top of the top in the UK. And it was just written like a boring CV almost. And I said, this isn't going to be good enough.
And that was
And so
a UK
yeah, it was.
freelancer.
So I
Yeah.
ended up rewriting it, sending it through back to this person who then did final minor tweaks, sent it to the client, to which the client said, and the guy won, so it was good. And no, did he win? Oh, he got shortlisted anyway, that's for sure. I can't remember if he won or not actually. And the client said, "Oh, this is great. Thanks so and whatever her name was for doing the work. It's really good quality." And I thought, yeah, but you didn't write it. I did,
Yeah.
And so that was part of it. And then I moved her on to a bid, and I ended up doing the same. Oh, actually, sorry, no, that was it. I moved her on to a bid with somebody else I just brought on who had about they had between them 15 and 20 years worth of experience each,
Yeah.
and it was a difficult client, but it was when I'd gone away to Morocco actually, so I was managing it remotely, and I got back, and we ended up getting sacked off the job
Yeah.
because what they were doing was absolute rubbish, and so I was losing faith in people here really at that point, and also the amount of money I was having to pay for people who just weren't up to scratch. They were charging lots of money, but they couldn't deliver.
I mean, what
Um,
was the type of monthly bill that you were getting or weekly bill that you were
well,
getting?
we were paying £500 a day
Wow, per person.
per person. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Which is
So
huge, isn't it?
it is huge. And if you're not getting the quality of service, because at that rate, I don't expect to have to rewrite people's work and to step in and to guide them on stuff. I want to take a strategic overview. I don't want to be doing it for them. And
So
that's what I was found with doing. And the difference is now is that, obviously there's two elements to what we do. So we've got Agnes on the ops side of things, but then I've got Mary and Natasha. I found that they're not as experienced as they have made out, I think. That I think Mary said she's got 5 years experience. I can't remember what Nat said she'd got now. And they may well have done bidding for that level, for that length of time, but they're not at the level I would hope them to be. And with any luck, they'll end up working with us for some time yet. And I can get them to that position because, I'm going to do this training. I'm going to do a bit more training as we go on, so that it really does raise their awareness. I think they're used to doing fairly standard, poor quality bids, which win or don't win, depends on the luck of the pricing, I guess. Whereas what we're into is the sales side of stuff. So we're persuasive writers, that's the purpose of what we're going to do. We are going to sell out and persuade a client that there is no choice but to go with our customers because our clients, because they're the best.
they're the best.
and they'll deliver. And that's a different whole, and it's more copywriting then. You're getting into a different level of work.
So before we were working together, what was the impact? There was two things, right? So we had Agnes come in operationally. What was the impact of having these freelancers on the business? Because I know you had very ambitious growth goals when we spoke. How
Yeah.
was it impacting the business having these kind of gaps in your resources, essentially?
Well, I ended up doing all the writing and or a lot of the writing. I was having to read everything, do everything, manage things, making sure that things were done right. So pretty much every bid that came in, I had a lead role in writing on it.
So how much time were you spending doing writing?
Oh God, I can't even work that out now, but pretty much all my time really. I would say I was spending maybe 10% on operating the business and the rest of it delivering projects and bids.
Okay. So
Now
what?
it's completely
Yeah.
different. Now my time is freed up. For instance, yesterday I did a search on AI and said, well, look, what's the profile of Vision TDM on the internet, and it gave me a whole feedback on it, which was great. And it said we're presenting ourselves as a standard consultancy business, and these are the things you need to do to improve it. So it's that element of work I'm thinking I'm going to try and see if Nat and Mary might be able to help with.
Okay.
Writing case studies and a few other things and improving our website and whatever else. So I'm now working on the strategic side of the business, which is where I should be, and not delivering work all the time.
Yeah, amazing. So when you were looking at working with us and after those initial conversations, what were your first impressions? What were some of the concerns that you had? Because obviously you hadn't worked with remote professionals before. You'd worked with UK associates. You didn't have anyone in an operations role, so you were doing all the operations and the bid writing. So what were some of the concerns that came up for you from the conversation, or what were your thoughts after we'd had that initial call?
Yeah, well, I mean, I see it slightly differently in that I was working with remote consultants because some of them I've never met. Like Stacey over in Northern Ireland, I've never met her. You know, Deanie is down in Pembrokeshire in South
Yeah.
Wales, and I only recently met her, probably November time after we worked together for a while because her daughter's in Chester at the moment, and so I said, well, when you're up, let's go and have a coffee, or lunch or whatever, So I've met her a couple of times now because of that. Other associates I rarely meet or whatever, so that's the same. So working with them overseas. The only problem there is a time difference, that's all. But they make it work and it seems to be okay. So I think in working with you initially, there were a number of layers on that. Firstly, I didn't know what you were like, how good your candidates were likely to be, and whether it was actually going to work for me, and whether the level of English they had was going to be good enough. Um, Secondly, I wasn't sure whether you could find the right people for me and that it would actually meet my requirements. And secondly, there was an element of me having to let go of certain things as well. And that comes over time of building trust. Um, and so, working with, I think was it Mary originally? I can't remember her name now.
Yeah, Mary originally.
Yeah. Did you ever find out what happened to her, by the way?
She got hospitalized,
Yeah, was she
and
okay? Oh no.
we don't know.
No.
She was hospitalized. It was for quite some time.
Yeah.
So she just kind of had said, I'm quite unwell. I'm not going to be able to continue working. I'm not sure when I'll be back." So we obviously said, "Let us know when you will," and
Yeah.
she didn't. So I'm not too
Well,
sure what it was.
no, well, hopefully she's okay. Anyway, I mean, Agnes came on board, and I probably felt a jolt really because there's a bit of a glitch in the process because I was building the relationship with Mary, and then suddenly I've got somebody new that you had to source quite quickly, and I'm thinking, oh, is this just more kind of being let down by people, because had been my experience of things. And then working with Agnes, she's starting to take a bit more control. And I think we had a number of meetings, and I said, look, I'm not looking for somebody just to do what I ask them to do. I want someone that challenges me, thinks about things, and says that you should be doing this. And as we've gone on, that's very much the relationship she and I have now. So, for instance, I mean, I've told her that I want to do this training on Tuesday. I've given her an agenda today, and well, in fact, actually, no, she messaged me this morning and said, "Have you got an agenda for this meeting? Do you want me to turn it into a slide deck?" And I said, "Yes." that'd be really good. So she's doing that. And then I said, well, look, I want to record this because I want to turn it into a training program. So she's looking at how we can do that now. So she's very proactive and she doesn't hold back on stuff, and she comes forward all the time. So I think you should be doing this now. I mean, it was her idea to employ somebody, a LinkedIn expert, because I think she's reached the end of how far she can go with it. She knows the limits as well, which is good. And says, look, actually, I need somebody else to do this now. I don't have enough time. And that means if we can get someone in to do that, I can step up and do the ops side more. So I'll take over managing your emails and other things that you would normally do. And that it's just all taking time off me, which is great.
I think there's a real alignment as well with Agnes and the vision that you've got for Vision. And I
Mm,
think that she was able to see the amount of capacity she had to put into LinkedIn, for example, which is where we know is going to be a really strong source of new business for you. She didn't have that capacity to do it. She could have worked it out, if that was what she was focusing on doing. So I think it's because, and you've done an amazing job with her on this, you've really got her very aligned with what you're doing and where you're going, and you're singing off the same sheet, so she can then see the gaps in the
mm.
business as well, and then take accountability for saying, I think we need to bring someone else in to do this.
Yeah, no, she's good. She's clever, and
Okay.
that's what I like.
Okay, awesome. So with Agnes doing that now, and you kind of had touched on how you spend your time, how do you see the business evolving now over the next kind of 12 months? What's the transformations in the business? If you give a picture of kind of how the business was 12 months ago, how it is today, and how
Mm.
you see it in 12 months' time.
Well, how it was that I was operating in the business full time. Um, Prior to me pulling on associates, I was writing full time and it was an up down model. So when I'm busy writing and delivering bids, I'm not out selling the business and winning new work. And then we end up with a gap. Then I start panicking, but because of my connections and things like that, I can usually get work in. So I've got a new job in, and the merry-go-round goes again. Off we go. Um, when I started to bring in associates, it did relieve me a little bit of that, which I saw as like a window of that could be the future. And then it was interesting how we actually connected, because I think it was quite sort of ad hoc in many ways. Uh, and I don't know how you can do that better, really, because I think what you do is pretty awesome, and it managed to connect me with the right people, and has literally transformed the way I work. So now I do what I'm supposed to be doing, which I knew I should be doing, which was working on the business and not in it. So now I work strategically. I'm thinking about who I need to be speaking to and all those things. So going forwards, what I want to do is for um, uh, Agnes to take on more of the ops side of stuff, to take more off my shoulders. I want to push out all the invoicing, all the contractual stuff to her, onboarding associates. So we've gone through a standard operating procedures now, which might need a little bit refinement, but they'll get there. So all I need to do is, if I win a job, it's literally just fill out a form pretty much, send it off to her, and then she'll do it from there, and everything's brought on board. And that frees me up immensely then to start looking at what I need to do. Um, I'd like to have probably a team of about 4 writers, if I can, with a heavy input of new work. I want to move work winning away from me having to go out and meeting people and selling and generating it through my current way, and generating more work from people that I don't know via the internet, via LinkedIn, basically.
Yep.
So that means I've got to improve the website. There's some stuff I've got to do on that, put case studies up and things like that. I want to position myself as a thought leader, so that clients want to get on board with what we're doing. And I need to train people in the business to think like I think as well, to elevate them to a different way of bidding. Um, and I want to hit our target for this next coming year of about 400 grand if I can, so we can sell the business.
Okay, amazing.
That's the
And
plan.
and on sort of like a more personal level as well, now that you've got less day-to-day kind of reactive time spent in the business, how's that impacted you as far as like your mentality is concerned? You're kind of, obviously you're an entrepreneur, you're always going to have stress. So it's going to be
Well,
ups and downs.
it's changed a lot of things. I mean, when I was writing constantly, I don't know how you work, but my brain will be managing about 4 or 5 different things. So I'll be having the question in my mind. I'll be thinking, oh, I've written about that before elsewhere, so we need to source that. But hang on a minute, the market's changed. So all these things are there. So I'm juggling all these balls around my head. And then Kay will come in and say, oh, hi, I'm back. And I have to say, no, stop. I'll just give me a minute. Because I know if I say hello to her and start a conversation, all those balls will drop and I will start again. And that's how mentally tiring it was, and I would literally finish the day and be exhausted. And the bizarre thing is that most people, would think, oh gosh, if you've spent, 8 hours writing and reading stuff, the last thing you want to do is write and read. But actual fact, what I liked to do then would be to go and read a novel because I almost need to read more. But I speed read, so I go through an enormous quantity of stuff in a very short space of time. Nowadays, I think if you ask Kay, she'd probably disagree wholeheartedly with you. I'm a lot more relaxed and chilled out. I don't think she'd agree with that, but anyway, But I do feel that, and I do have time to sort of think, oh, actually, do you know what? I'll go up the gym for an hour, or I'll just go for a walk, or I'll just do something around the house that I need to do. I
Yeah.
didn't have that, and that's not necessarily downtime. It's a time when, a bit like when I use my mountain walking, in that I go off and I don't think about work, but I know that things are processing and going through, and I'll come back and I think, all right, okay, I need to do that.
Yeah, because you're not having to remember everything as well, because it's not only
Yeah,
your eyes and mind on the business.
yeah.
Okay, so last couple of questions. Who would you say, ideally, who would you say this is a great solution for? So I'm going to ask 2 questions. Who is this great for? Who is it not great for? So firstly, who would you say that Resource Worldwide is a great solution for? What
Oh,
type
they're
of business?
not good for anybody else but us because I don't want you to be giving anybody else. But no, I mean I've listened to what you do over the year, and I'm quite amazed at the diverse number of people you can get hold of and provide to people. So pretty much anybody who needs assistance with things to do stuff, And I was just thinking then, I'm reminded of my clients in Poland, Vector Synergy, who's worth looking up actually. And they provide security cleared personnel into NATO. And I first got involved with them through the internet. They sourced me through LinkedIn, went out to Poznan and I wrote a bid for them. And they wanted to move from being a subcontractor to a prime contractor, which we managed to do. We got to, I think it was 3 or 4 out of the 10th on placing and scoring. And then they worked with NATO for about 4 years directly. And then they were the top performing contractor for NATO. And then we did the rebid, and I said, well, you're going to have to do this a bit differently because you're the incumbent, so you should know better. So NATO should expect and want more from you. So we redid the bid, and we won it again. So they're back in again. But they've got a good model in terms of they source people, and they have a great onboarding process, great support, which I think is very similar to yours. And then they put these people in and then monitor their performance, check on what they're doing. And very similar to what you're doing.
Awesome.
But it's in a different niche market, that's all. But I think in terms of where you are, I don't know really, I don't know enough about your business on that score, but I guess you could provide people anywhere around the world,
Yeah.
in any situation. And I think, could you expand beyond the Philippines? Possibly, but then you might be watering down what you do and you'd have to build up all that knowledge bank again in the new place. But I don't know.
Yeah, and Rena and I were talking about this morning, and there's such amazing people in the Philippines, that we're kind of like exactly what you said. Why would we water down or create operational
Yeah.
complexities by adding a different country in or whatever it might be? Okay, final soundbite. if you were to speak to another, do you consider yourself an agency? Are you a bid writing agency?
No, I
Or
don't call ourselves an
so
agency.
what
Just
business?
yeah, we're a bid writing.
Consultancy.
Yeah, consultancy. Yeah,
Okay, so if another consultancy owner asked you about Resource Worldwide, what would you say?
I'd say use them. They're really good. You know, I want to find out what they want from you, but I would certainly say that they can get the resources they need.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I do have one other question. This is the last one. This isn't going to recording. This is my last one. That was amazing. Thank you so much. And I know there's quite a few questions, but I just want it to not be like one of these surface level case studies where like you gave really good overview there. Like I was with Mary and then she went, I was like, oh no, is this just another one of those? And then we bought like that's truth. That's what actually
Mm.
happened. And you know, like it's not always some of the stories are really smooth sailing, but obviously we deal with people, so a lot of them aren't. My last question is about referrals. At the moment, our only referral, we haven't ever really put much effort into it. But when we broke down our business, it was kind of like 60% of our business had come from referrals, and then 40% from outbound. So we looked at it and we said we need to look at how we can do more in that referral bit because we don't do anything with our clients in it. What would incentivize you as our client to refer us to people? Would there be like a financial incentive? Is it more just a case of it's just timing? You know, what kind of, I don't want to say an affiliate because we're not that type of business. Is there anything else that we could do to encourage you as a client to refer us to people? Is the question.
Not really, I guess, because firstly, I don't get approached asking for people to where they can
Yeah.
source people. Um, but if I did, I would certainly refer you anyway, and I wouldn't need a financial incentive to do that. Um, when I was trying to sell my business recently, I'd actually stopped it. I put it on pause for a minute until the new tax year. But a company you may have heard of them, AutoGen AI, approached me. Now um, they are an AI agency or tech company set up specifically for using AI in bidding. So that's their model. And I spoke to the CEO. I mean,
Yeah, you told me about this.
yeah, I mean, he's like I think his business turns over about 120 million, something like that. Basically, what they've offered me is that there would be a partnership kind of arrangement whereby I would sell in their product to my clients and I would overlay that with our systems. And I thought about it, and you know the money that he was talking about all sounds very attractive. But then I thought, well, what's the role really? It's just me acting as an agent for them, and
Yes, sales guy.
yeah, sales guy, you know. And does that mean that they've already hit the buffers on where they're going in terms of expansion, and people aren't on board with the amount of money it costs? Because it's about 250K a year to do it,
Yeah, you said.
and and therefore, you know, then they're trying to use my expertise and my contacts then to open up more doors for them and act as a salesperson, which is okay if I get the money that they said. But I've been asked to do those kind of things before in my younger years, and it just diverts you from what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm unlikely to go down that road with them. So asking, you know, trying to incentivize me to financially to refer you, unlikely I'm going to do it because I'm focusing on what I'm doing. But the reality is, you know, relationships are built on, sorry, business is built on relationships, isn't it? You know, I like you, I like Dan, and I trust what you're doing and what you're saying to me. So if somebody said, "Oh, I need extra people, where can I get?" And I said, "Go and have a chat with Sophie." You know.
Yeah, I feel very much the same. So I'm a big chatterbox, as you know, and I'll give you up on my hypnotherapist. So I started seeing her through. You know, I was really overweight. We've had this conversation, haven't we?
No, I didn't know you
Oh
were
my
really
God.
overweight.
I was like, I've lost 140 pounds.
What's that? 10 stone? You're joking.
No,
You can't have carried 10 stone extra.
I'll show you a picture.
Bloody hell.
When I had Elliot, so I've lost 10 stone since I had Elliot.
Yeah, we
Let
should
me,
tell me how to do it. I need to lose a stone at the moment.
well, I went to a hypnotherapist.
Uh,
So let's see,
Bloody hell, I can't believe that.
August. So obviously you can see what I look like now in the main. So I'm a size 8 now. I'm like 9 stone.
I was going to say
Um,
there's nothing of you.
no, I'm really, there you go. That's a good one. That that's just a face. Me and my dad.
That's a different person. That's just I wouldn't recognize you.
That,
Seriously. Wow.
yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? So yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. There's a full body one. Me and my dad.
Goodness me.
So anyway, I went to my hypnotherapist. And she was amazing. And Dan's been, so Dan used to drink rugby, so he drank much more than he wanted to, but every
Mm.
time he tried to stop, he'd like end up drinking again. So he hasn't drunk since, it'll be 3 years in September from seeing the
Wow.
hypnotherapist as well. But I have referred her, oh my God, hundreds of people now because of all the people I'd referred, and then that they've been to her. And then, so like, she was on Google when I found her. So I got her, she got me through a Google ad. She's turned them off because of her capacity. And I'm sure. But if she'd have said to me, she's never given me a discount on my sessions. She's never offered me anything. I did it because she was genuinely amazing and she genuinely changed my life. So that's why I talk
Yeah.
about her. I'm really on the fence with this financial incentivization for referrals.
I think what's always driven me in business, and it's not an egotistical thing, um, because I mean I'll clarify that in a minute. I've met people who are intelligent. I like to think I'm intelligent, but I've met people who are super intelligent. And I remember we were, so when I had my previous business and we were designing sports stadiums, so we were involved with Peel Holdings, who own the Trafford Centre, John Whittaker, and I'd managed to get in and act as their project manager. So we're in the room with his head of planning, um, uh, the external landscape architect who was working very closely on planning and everything like that, and their QC from London, and they were talking on a level way above my intellectual level. I mean, I was just gobsmacked at the level of discussion. Um, but I don't think I'm not a stupid man. But what I like to do is to surround myself with people not necessarily like me, because that would not be beneficial, but with passion in life, with the similar kind of intellect, with the drive to win and to do stuff and experience life. And I certainly get that from you and from Dan. Um, and I've got it from other people. So I would prefer and I like to surround myself with those kinds of people. And then I don't care about referring people because it's no skin off my nose to do it. What I don't want to have to do is to refer people to think, oh, well, I'm not really sure how good they are, but I'll refer them anyway because it
So I'll
might
get
be
a
a
couple of
reflection
hundred
on me.
quid.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
agreed.
but it might just be a reflection on me then, and and I don't want that. If it goes wrong, I'd rather do something and trust someone. Then if it did go wrong, I'd phone you up and say, why the bloody hell did you do that? You just put me in a really shitty position now.
Well, as mentioned, 60% of our clients are from referrals, so we are good at
Well, there
it.
you go, and you don't let people down, and I wouldn't expect you to, because I know we'd never have that conversation, and that's why I'd refer someone to you. Whereas,
Yeah,
I wouldn't do it for others.
yeah, I agree. It's a funny one because it happens organically, but there are obviously companies where their whole business is built on referrals and affiliates.
Yeah,
But yeah, I've never referred anyone because of a financial gain.
no,
All right. Do you need me for anything else before I go?
no, I don't think so. No, I think we're good at the moment. I just got my brain on 10 million different things all at the same time. I've got a
Typically.
meeting. I've got a meeting with now. Right. It is with Agnes. It's with Rini as well, talking about this LinkedIn expert.
Oh,
So
it's a
yeah, it's an
resource
interview.
worldwide call.
Yeah, I just completely forgot about what it was. Trouble my brain is just all. Honestly, I've booked up the because we've got to get. We're having a friend of ours who's a celebrant. She's going to do the ceremony for us here, because we're going to get married at home. Did I say that? I can't remember.
Yeah.
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 So she's going to marry us or do the ceremony, but we have to get married before that at the registry office. So I've been on the phone booking all that out this morning. So I'm juggling that. I'm trying to do this training thing for Tuesday, writing that agenda and just finalizing things on that. I'm trying to do a bit of strategy stuff as well. I've got some responses back in from Nat and Mary that I need to read, and honestly, my brain's all over the place. But
Well, thank you for making time for me today.
no, you're welcome. Of course, I will. Always give that time. For people that benefit me and help me, I'm always going to give time back. So
Thank you. And I'll speak to you soon. We'll do a proper onboarding call with your new remote professional. But I think you're away around when they come in anyway. I'm super clear on what they need to do. So
yeah, we're going on the 29th. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, Fab. Thank you.
Okay.
Congratulations again. Speak to you soon.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Thanks. See you. Bye. Bye.